Hey everyone, it's Sammy from Push Square and I'm with Stephen Tailby and Alex Stinton again, and we're going to talk about PlayStation VR, which is probably the other big story at this year's EGX 2016. And we've got a really, what we think is an interesting anecdote about a game called Windlands?
Correct.
Not Wildlands.
Not Wildlands.
Windlands.
It's easy to do, but...
Okay, so this is a kind of, it's an indie game basically. It's a platformer, it's a first-person platformer, and you play as a character who can he's basically Stretch Armstrong, and he can whip out his arms and swing like Spider-Man. But the key thing about this game, or kind of the defining feature, is the sense of scale and kind of vertigo, basically. And after playing this demo, Alex Stinton coming over to me, telling me that he couldn't walk and that his hands were shaking. So do you want to elaborate a bit more on what you kind of experienced?
I suffer from a fear of heights in the real world, and the moment I started playing this demo, I realised I had a bit of a problem with my hands, that I was freaking out a little bit, and my heart was just going at a real pace. And just the act of the first bit, which wasn't even grappling, it was just jumping across a couple of platforms.
Because you kind of have a rocket jump, kind of, don't you?
And I fell off the first time, which then led to a very long drop, which made me freak out even more. And I got to the point where I thought I was going to have to ask the guy to take the headset off me, because I think I was going to have trouble dealing with it. But a funny thing happened that I kind of got used to the mechanics, found kind of a rhythm with it, and would end up swinging between these trees through kind of the end of the demo. But even that was, it had like my heart in my throat. It was absolutely unbelievable, and it was eliciting a reaction from me that I'm only used to seeing in the real world when I'm up at the top of a tall building or in a glass elevator, that sort of thing. And this game was eliciting the same thing, which meant that when I got up off the stool at the end of the demo, my legs were wobbly, my hands were shaking, and I literally had to take about a minute to recover from the whole experience.
Yeah, now it's worth us mentioning here that Alex wasn't feeling motion sick.
No.
You weren't. It wasn't like a bad experience you were having because of VR. You were having a kind of bad experience because it actually made you feel vertigo. It made you feel afraid of the heights.
Yeah, absolutely. It was kind of just eliciting a reaction I get in the real world normally. And that's I guess the power of VR.
Like I think this is super awesome because I felt similar things playing like horror games on VR. A few years back, I got to play Kitchen, and in that demo, like a scary lady comes at you with a knife, and instinctively I was like moving away, trying to escape. And this is kind of one of the amazing things about VR. This game isn't visually impressive. It's not going to trick you into thinking it's the real world, but still, you get that sense of height, that sense of scale.
And the fact that I was bracing my legs when I was coming off a jump onto a platform, that I felt like I was having to ready myself for the landing, was my mind was reacting automatically to what I was seeing on that screen.
Now, do you think, Stephen, that developers are going to have to be aware of that? Because the people that don't like horror games as it is, or horror movies, they're 10 times worse in VR. People that are scared of heights, you get that feeling in VR. Is that something that developers maybe need to be aware of?
I think so. I think they're going to need to do something to warn people, maybe.
Yeah.
Even just to have like a warning at the beginning of the game before they start, saying you may experience some sense of vertigo or whatever it is.
The rating system will have like vertigo, agoraphobia, or arachnophobia, or list all the phobias that may be triggered by this, experience.
Yeah, so I think that's super cool. It's a really cool little story about just how powerful VR, and hopefully if you haven't tried it yet, that maybe gives you an idea of what it's like and how effective it is. So for more on PlayStation VR, stay tuned to the channel. We're going to have tons more in the lead up to launch, and thank you so much for watching.